Hey guys, it's your girl Deborah, student, singer, songwriter, and everything else in between, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be teaching you guys my tips and tricks as to how I learned Dutch in literally the speed of lightning. Freaking lichtsnelheid. For all my natuurkunde physics people out there, lichtsnelheid, bro. You guys have been asking me so many questions as to how I learned Dutch super fast and how I got a B2 within 4 months, and is that possible, Deborah? How did you possibly get that, Deborah? Like, Deborah, can you help me? Deborah, can you come to my aid? And I'm just here to say, girl or guy, I'm here for you, boo. Don't stress. These tips are the tips that people don't really tell you that often to do, but really which like helped me be where I am today, basically. Before we get into this video, subscribe. Because some of y'all just be popping in here without subscribing. Y'all just come to watch my content and then leave without hitting the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Also, stream my music. Because your girl, like I said in my intro, is a singer, student, songwriter. And your girl is releasing music down on Spotify and every available music platform below. So, link in the description. Listen to my single. It's a song in the intro. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm busy when you need me. I'm busy, can't you see me? I'm busy, busy. Before we get into these tips and tricks, grab a notepad, grab a pen. I don't have those two things with me right now, but like I'm not the one who needs to learn Dutch anymore. Now it's you. So grab your notepad, sit down, and take notes. Tip number one that helped me: change your mindset. I cannot tell you the wonders changing your mindset does when it comes to studying anything, and especially a language. You just hold on, just listen to this analogy for a second, right? When I started, for example, at ESK, I needed to achieve a Dutch level of B1. Now, B1, we were told at the time, was basically the language level of a teenager, perhaps from like 13 to 16 basically, which means that the average 13 to 16-year-old vocabulary is within that range. You want to achieve that vocabulary within that range. You can't do that if you cram all of your words together. You need to realize that 13 to 16-year-old girl or boy is a native Dutch speaker, and they identify things differently in their heads than you do in yours. When you see a table, depending on what your first language is, you will immediately identify that table with your first language in your head. My first language is English, so I identify it as table. The average 13 to 16-year-old fluent Dutch speaker might not identify it as a table, but as a tafel. This mindset helped me realize that it's not the quest of trying to learn as many sentences as possible, but trying to learn a way to make sure to train my brain to be able to think in Dutch and also be able to express myself in Dutch rather than I do in English. Tip number two: translate your thoughts. Every day I would go on the train, on the bus, even on my bike, and I would see different things, I think different things, and of course I would always wonder, how would you be able to say this in Dutch? Well, that's why you need a notepad and pen with you, like I said at the beginning of this video. Whether it's on your phone or whether it's on a pen and paper in real life, which works better for me, I always made sure that if I was curious about something, if I thought something and I wanted to know how to learn it in Dutch, I would translate. Whether it's the signboard that you see when you pass the street or when you're cycling by, or even when you're on the train, be open to translating your actual thoughts. You need to be able to train your own thoughts to think in Dutch. And how can you do that without translating them, boo? Translate! For example, you get into a train and you're immediately looking for the charging port. What would you say to yourself? Nou, ik vraag me af als oplader in de trein is. Don't be afraid to be able to translate your inner thoughts. If you're at the supermarket and you don't know what the word is, translate it. If you're outside, you're walking past a signboard, you don't know what the word is, translate it. Now, this one is a little unorthodox and it's probably a little unheard of. You see, when you're looking at an intermediate person that's able to speak a language fluently, they're able to communicate and express themselves, which means that how you naturally communicate and express yourself must be able to translate well in Dutch. The one thing I use that helped me to be able to transition quickly and not feel socially awkward within long conversations is the use of in-between words. For example, if I wanted to talk to somebody about a long story about my day, instead of using the words, especially in this conversation, if I've forgotten a Dutch word that I wanted to use, be creative with it. You're sitting with a person who might know the word. So instead of saying, ja, gisteren was ik toch bezig met die, now, you can instead describe what you're about to say. Gisteren ging ik naar de supermarkt en ik zag deze kleine dingetje. Ja, ik ben nu de naam vergeten, maar het is zo lekker. You see what I did right there? I use in between words. I couldn't remember what the name of the dessert or snack was, but I used a smart way to describe it. That way, not only will the conversation continue, but also it'll make it easier for you to transition within conversations and not feel like a beginner when you're speaking to people. Also, there's also another creative way you can do this with the word zeg maar. For example, if I'm talking to somebody and I don't know exactly what to say in between, I use the words zeg maar. Ja, dat is een beetje... Nou, wat is dat dan? Zeg maar, dat is een beetje... flauw, zeg maar. Weet je wat, snap je wat ik bedoel? Use filler words, such as zeg maar, of ja, misschien, of. Even the word of is useful. Don't be afraid to be able to use in-between words, because that is the difference between a beginner who learns Dutch word for word versus a fluent speaker who naturally expresses himself. See, when I started learning Dutch, I used to use Google Translate, which, love to her. Thank you so much for being there. Like, you literally helped my whole entire school career. Fine. But sometimes Google Translate just doesn't get the grammatics of the sentence right. Like, sometimes you'll type in something and the words might be phonetically correct, but grammatically it is an absolute disaster. That's where movies and music come in. Maybe you don't have that many people to practice with within your region, then watch movies. With movies, you see how people interact with one another and how they would naturally use the words that you're learning in a sentence. Also with movies, you'll learn a lot of expressions. Many of these expressions you can actually adopt to make your sentences and whenever you speak to people much more interesting. For example, if you're interacting with your friends, how would you naturally express yourself? Oh, wat leuk zeg. Echt hè, dat is heel leuk. And you can find these expressions within films and movies. Instead of just watching one film and putting on your first language's subtitles, what you want to do instead is to put on Dutch subtitles. So not only are you hearing what the person is saying, but you can also see what they're saying. What I used to do was a little bit tedious. I actually used to pause the movies frame by frame if I didn't understand a sentence. So then I would write down the sentence and then I would learn it and learn a way to adapt it within my daily conversations. Simple ways like that, you can be able to transform yourself to a natural intermediate Dutch speaker. When it comes to Dutch music, you might find yourself a little bit lost and you might not know which genre fits you. One of the artists, and this is not a promotion, but I actually love her. One of the artists that I do listen to that is Dutch is Jade Lauren. Oh God, I hope I didn't butcher her name. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Please do not come for me in the comments. She is a Dutch singer who actually mixes English and Dutch as well. And she says some very interesting things that just let me realize that like, whoa, okay, I didn't know this was actually a thing. Okay, girl, I mean, you do you, boo. I'm gonna use a little bit of that. Listening to these words on a daily basis can help you with repetition in your brain. Now, you might not adopt what the musician is singing, but it does let you know the possibilities of the whatnots and what ifs. Read the dictionary. Yes, you heard me right. Read the freaking dictionary. When I got bored, when I was in the ISK in Enschede, by the way, I actually got so bored to the point that I went to the back of the classroom and I got a thick dictionary and I started to read. Did I finish the dictionary? No. Did I learn new words? Yes. I know it sounds super tedious, but reading a dictionary is actually super useful. Why? Not only do you learn translated words to add to your vocabulary, but for some words they actually include different sentences that make it easier. And of course, these sentences will be grammatically correct. So not only are you adding new words to your vocabulary, but you're also learning a little bit of grammatica. Now, when I started out, we actually were encouraged to be able to read little children's books because they help you with the basics of the grammar and also basic sentence construction. As your language level develops, so will your ability to be able to read. And fetching books that actually interest you will be super helpful when it comes to learning a new language. Make sure to buy a book that you can actually make notes in, because if there are words in the book that I don't understand, for example, I will literally write in pencil within the book to be able to remember that word the next time. And if you're not a reader, you have audiobooks. Apps such as Storytel, for example, I used to be able to listen to my books when I was on the way to school and I didn't do my literature assignment because I was supposed to, but I had too many books to read. Audiobooks will be your best friend. Practice old examinations. Shout out to one of my teachers at the ESCA for actually helping me with this. She printed out old examinations that were focused on Nederlands. Old Nederlandse examens. You can find old examinations for any subjects really on examenblad.nl, either to practice or just to get a general feel of what central examinations are like. For a lot of students especially, this is super helpful, especially if you're going to school and you'll have Nederlands as a subject, whether it's on like MAVO, HAVO, VWO level, or whether it's old stats exams and T2, those are super helpful as well if you're just trying to learn Dutch and not any other subjects. Stats exams and T2 specifically have good guidelines to be able to practice for your desired level in Dutch anyway. Printing and practicing those will be a good way for you to be able to practice your Dutch knowledge. I hope this video has been helpful. Again, like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep this community going. I'll see you guys in the next video. Howdy!